Belonging is something that we learn about long before we even understand the meaning of the word. And that's something that was actually said to me by my grandma when I told her that I was putting myself forward for a TEDx talk. I asked her what belonging meant to her, and we spoke in quite a bit of detail about what her childhood looked like, because that's where she felt like she truly belonged. You see, my grandma grew up in a really different generation to the generation and the world that we live in now. She was from a completely different era. She's 70, just so I should let you know. And she grew up where she would get up, have a breakfast, come downstairs and be sent out to play. She'd be sent out on her way. And she didn't have a mobile phone in her pocket, so nobody was able to give her a call or drop her a text message. And she definitely didn't have a tracker app, so nobody knew her location. But still, she'd jump on her bike and she'd ride quite far down the road to her friend's house. And she'd do something that none of us really do nowadays, is that she'd get off the bike and actually knock on the door. Normally, we just send a text, don't we? I'm here, I'm outside. But when her friend would come out to play, they would play for hours. And they'd play the same games almost every single day. They'd be kicking a football up against a wall. They'd be using their jumpers as goalposts. They'd be making dens out of anything that they could find. They'd be nicking stuff out of her dad's shed just to go and build a rope swing. They would play out because that was where they belonged. That's where their parents thought they belonged. They belonged out there, playing out, having so much fun. When it got a little bit darker, everybody knew that's the time to go back in because your tea's ready. And if, my grandma got caught up playing, let me tell you now, my great-granny would shout her name down the street as though she was the town crier, and everybody knew that my grandma's Sunday dinner was waiting for her. Everybody in the street knew. Everybody in her community knew because they had a community of parents who sent their children out to play. Because as I said, that's where they belonged. As my grandma got older, she went to what we would now class as probably a bit of a night out, but it was called a nappy night, and it was a little bit of a dance. And my grandma was 16 at the time, spinning around on the dance floor, and a boy came over, took her hand, and also gave her a little spin. That 16-year-old boy is my granddad. You see, when they met at that dance, they stayed together for the rest of their lives. As I said, she's 70 now. They went on to get married, buy a house for pennies, may I add, had children, and went and worked at the same factory together. And when my grandma did have her children, she was able to go home while my granddad carried on at work, and then she returned back into the workplace. That's the way the world was back then. You see, when I spoke with my grandma about what the word belonging means, she was able to recall these memories because that's what belonging felt like for her. But the thing is, I grew up in a really different era. I grew up in the world that we live in today, the digital world. You see, for me, belonging has always felt as though it's something that I've chased. But not only have I chased it, it's always kind of chased me, almost like this shadow that's constantly leering over me and looming over me in every aspect of my life. It's become a little voice in my ear that would often whisper, how do you need to act in this moment to feel as though you can belong? You see, when I was a child, I would be the little girl that would stand in the playground and laugh at jokes that I didn't really understand. And it wasn't because I thought that they were funny, I didn't, but everybody else was laughing, so I felt as though I needed to laugh along too. And if you was to take a peek into my bedroom when I was a child, my grandma made sure I was kitted out with Groovy Chick everything. Groovy Chick was a really big thing when I was younger. I had the curtains, the bed sheets, pillowcases, pencil cases, you name it, I had it, it was Groovy Chick. But the thing is, stood here now, I can honestly say to you that I wasn't really a Groovy Chick girl. I'm actually more of a Barbie girl, really. But the thing is, my best friend Emily, if you also looked in her bedroom, she had Groovy Chick everything. And when I went round to play, I then needed Groovy Chick everything. Because if I had it too, then, well, that's it. I belong, isn't it? I belong. and the shadow would almost kind of disappear. You see, as I grew older and got a little bit bigger, unfortunately, so did this shadow. When I was in my teen years, this shadow was teaching me when I should speak, when I should stay quiet, and how to avoid conflict. See, the thing is, as a teenager, you do often find yourself in situations that you can't always get out of. But for me, there was another thing. In my pocket was my brand new BBM. I had a BlackBerry, and it was full of BlackBerry Messenger, where I could also find Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. So whilst I couldn't avoid conflict in person, I also couldn't avoid conflict when I went home, because it would follow me, just like the shadow, because I would pull out my phone when I got home off the school bus, and I'd have a look, and I could still be reached by all of these people that I went to school with. Some of them who, I did want to hear from, but some of them, maybe I didn't. As I also grew, again, so did the shadow. And I'd gone on to college at this point. It was a new place, brand new environment, brand new set of girls, which any girls amongst us know that fitting in with cliques can be really, really difficult. And I walked into this classroom and felt as though everybody had already got their clique and I wasn't really a part of it. So I kind of took my seat with my shadow next to me, who'd also clearly signed up for the college course, and decided to kind of keep my head down and keep my mouth shut. The group of girls in the corner, one of them had decided to walk towards me. And as she's getting closer and closer, I can feel my shadow breathing harder and harder down my neck. And as she leaned in towards me, she said, "Do you know you've forgot to put your earring in?" And I laughed. That was such a me thing to do. I can't believe I was getting ready for college this morning and I'd forgotten to put one of my earrings in. Honestly, I'm so silly. And she said to me, "Don't be daft, come over and talk to us." And right then, in that moment, my shadow completely disappeared. Because in that moment, I had a moment of connection where I felt as though I belonged, because I was being invited into a group of girls. But you see, what actually happened is something that is a little bit embarrassing. Because me forgetting to put that earring in on that day became something that I actually started to do quite a lot as I grew up into an adult. If I would find myself in a room where I had mega imposter syndrome and felt as though I didn't belong, I would purposely not put in one of my earrings. And the reason why I did that is because, as women, if you was to see a lady walk out of the bathroom with loo roll on her shoe, you would tell her. If she had lipstick in her teeth, you would tell her. So if I was missing an earring, I would pray that somebody would tell me, just so I could make that connection and again be brought into that room and feel as though I belong in that room with all these people and belong in that conversation as well. But the truth is, it was never about the earring. It was always that I wanted this shadow to disappear and have the feeling that I belonged. As I again grew bigger, so did the shadow, but the shadow now had gone from this little thing whispering in my ear into what looked like a timeline. And this timeline was all of the things you're meant to tick off and do when you're an adult. It's like all the things you have to do, like you're meant to meet somebody and you're meant to get married and you're meant to have a really successful career and you're meant to have a baby and you're probably meant to get a dog. But the thing is, at 20 years old, my timeline didn't look like that. It didn't look like that at all. At 20 years old, I decided to have a beautiful baby girl. And everybody told me, this is the biggest mistake you will ever make. So as I would pull out my mobile phone and compare this timeline to everybody else's timeline on my Facebook timeline, where everybody else was checking in at lovely posh restaurants, or they're just finishing a university degree, or maybe they're on lovely holidays, or they're out for dinner with their boyfriend who looks so great. I was comparing my life to theirs all the time. 2 years on, I had just been given an amazing opportunity to become a head of marketing for a fashion company. And on my very first day, I pulled out my mobile phone and I took a selfie in my hot pink suit and posted it onto social media. I can't wait to get stuck in #mumboss, because I got a 2-year-old at this point, and I wanted everybody, all of my Facebook friends, to know that even though I'd skipped a few of these checkboxes, I was still smashing it. I needed them to know. I had something to prove, because the shadow was right there telling me, you've still got to belong, you know. But the thing is, what I didn't share on my social media page is on that very same day as I took that selfie, I received a phone call from my daughter's childminder. And I picked up the phone and she'd said to me, she's drawn a picture of you. It was some squiggly lines on a piece of paper, but well done. And as I put the phone down, I sobbed. I cried my eyes out in this beautiful leather chair on this posh, lovely desk with a team of people I was now responsible for. I sobbed. Because the thing is, whilst I was pretending to have this perfect life on my Facebook timeline, the reality is I was missing out on the timeline of things that you have to tick off as a first-time mum. She's drawn you her first picture, her first steps, her first words. I was missing out on all of those milestones for what? To prove myself, to prove to everybody, well, actually, I can still belong. You see, the thing is, social media is always put to us and pushed to us as a tool of connection. That's what it's there for. We're meant to use it to connect with other people anywhere around the world. You can pick up a FaceTime and FaceTime your aunt in Australia. Amazing. But actually, 9 times out of 10, we're using it as a tool for comparison. And we are constantly adjusting ourselves, editing ourselves, and performing online for the validation of others. It's always felt as though it's been me, my shadow, and social media. Now, what I've realised in this is that there's been a pattern throughout my childhood in comparison to my grandma's. I've realised that as a child, I was laughing along. As a teenager, I was keeping my mouth shut, staying quiet. At college, I was forgetting to put my earrings in, and then I did it for every opportunity in my life, just so somebody would talk to me. And as an adult, I was chasing this invisible timeline. And the whole time, online, I was performing. In every aspect, I was still performing. All of those stages of my life were a stage. That's exactly what they were, because I was constantly performing and pretending. Now, the thing is, we've kind of gone from having belonging as a feeling into something that we have to constantly try and earn. We're trying to earn this validation from others. But it was never meant to be earned. Belonging has always been a feeling. You see, the thing is, if 100 of you liked my Facebook post right now, I'd think, maybe that's not that many people. If 1,000 of you like my Facebook post right now, I'd probably think, wow, that's really good. But if all of you turned up to my house and asked me to pop the kettle on, I'd run out of biscuits, because 100 people is still quite a lot of you. But we're so caught up in comparing our likes, our followers, our friends, our views to others. You see, I'd like to stand here now and say that whilst my timeline did look very different, I was really brave in that I was a 20-year-old who chose to have a child, and my timeline didn't match up to everybody else's. And standing here now, I can honestly say it was not the biggest mistake of my life. It was the best decision I ever made. And shockingly enough to my grandma, who doesn't understand the big wide web, and she still calls it the Tinternet, I do actually now work in social media, and my goal is to always encourage my daughter to be brave and to belong. And I now do that within my job in helping businesses also belong. So what I'd like to finish with today is that I would invite you all to be brave, just like me and how I encourage my daughter to be every single day. I would invite you to be brave enough to be seen, but most importantly, to be brave enough to step out of the shadows. Thank you.